Hey, all you out there. So I know all of you are super excited to get into the spiritual world. I know you're really excited about getting the vision and having the foresight and the abilities that all of these spiritual people have out there. But there are some risks. And today I had somebody come into the office, and they were talking about their visions that they received last night and their great dreams that they had last night. And as they were telling me the story, I know that she has received the gift of vision, but I kind of wanted to put a precursor or a warning on what to do when you receive all these gifts, because so many people out there will obtain these gifts overnight or through a near-death experience, through meditation, through something, but it's always something sudden. And now when you are searching for something that is so valuable to you, because, you know, when we go on our spiritual path, one of the things that a lot of people want is that clairvoyance. They want something that they can do to the world, something that they can put out to the world and be able to give back, because their hearts are so great and so good. But, you know, there are some evil things that can utilize that too. So what we are talking about today is, how do we know what we're aligned with and what we're not aligned with? So go ahead and tell your story. And yeah, she doesn't want to be recorded, so
I'm shy.
yeah. But anyways, we're just gonna kind of tape our conversation, because I thought that it was a really good thing. I'm not going to be particularly speaking to you guys because I am just going through conversation, but like I said, it's a learning lesson for everyone. So I just asked, you know, is it okay that we go ahead and record? And let's go. So yeah,
all right,
tell everyone what's going on.
Got some tarot cards that I'd ordered about a week ago, and opened up the deck a couple days ago, and then I did my first reading last night, and I did, I think, 5 readings, and it was interesting. The first one, it went pretty well, and so then I was like, I'm gonna keep doing this, because it's, you know, it's exciting, and I'm like finally doing something with my new psychic powers, and I was just super excited, and then worked on that for about 2 hours before I went to bed. And when I went to bed, I watched that YouTube video about I don't remember who did it, but it's just like a subliminal opening your third eye while you're asleep. And all night, the dreams that I was having was all about these tarot readings. And like I told you, I woke up a couple of times, like going through doing these tarot readings, that it was odd, because like I hadn't even read some of the stuff that I was seeing. Like I told you, that they were mixed together, the regular cards and the tarot cards, and that I knew, like I pulled a 3 of diamonds, but I knew it meant 3 of pentacles. And I was just kind of like, how do you even know that? You know, because what is that? You know? And so I was just super excited when I woke up this morning, because I was like, nothing like this has ever happened. So it was a really exciting experience.
Right. And so yeah, anytime that we have something that just kind of suddenly happens, and even, you know, me being a healer and stuff like that, I get sudden aha moments or epiphanies or whatever. When they come so fast, though, sometimes we just got to make sure that we are making sure about the energies. It's wonderful that you had the dream, you know, because this is telling me absolutely this is something that your spirit is calling for. You wouldn't have picked it up if your spirit didn't feel that it was right. I know that you are very loving. You want to help everyone out. You want to do, you know, what's best for everyone. And I know that you know, you're seeking what else can I do? I want to do something bigger.
Yeah.
And especially in the spiritual community, and then, you know, especially being able to open up that third eye. And when you're listening to the subliminal messages and third eye awakenings and stuff, you know, that puts out a lot of pressure on that third eye. And not only that, but as we're opening, lights and rays and stuff just kind of shoot out of us. And so this puts up kind of, it's like a lighthouse that'll go off. And any spirit now knows, oh my gosh, she's in the now. She's calling us home. She knows, you know, she's of light. And everything that we pick up, you know, tarot cards, healing, crystals, anything, they all come to us with light, because that's what attracts us, is that, oh my gosh, it has that light in there, and I need it. I want it. And so when we pick it up, it's always with good intent. But when we actually start utilizing them, then those things actually start to bind with them. So when I started my crystal readings, my crystals started binding with my energy, and I started knowing things and seeing things that I hadn't seen before. I had to do some checking and make sure, like, is this the right source? Is this the okay source? And, for you, you're binding with your tarot cards. Tarot cards are very tricky in the fact that they can go really either way. There's a lot of darkness that can use them, and there's a lot of light that can use them. So you can really utilize them any way. Now you spoke about the cards actually being the same. You picked up the 3, and you just knew it was a 3 of Pentacles. When you pick that up, tarot always has the same reading. So this is why when you pick up tarot cards, it just has different art, but it has really the same meaning. So somebody that could read any tarot cards would know, the 3 of Pentacles, this is what that card means, and every deck. But then it's the images that we pick up, the intuition as to go further into the reading. So tarot has that energy that's out there, like I said, for the light or the dark. In my practice, what I've seen is so many people get excited because when we utilize this stuff, it really binds to our energy. The spirits, the angels, the demons, the whatever is the energy that we're actually pulling to get the vision. So if I'm doing my tarot cards and I'm just not checking into my energy, I'm just checking into the energy of the cards, and I'm flipping the cards, and all of a sudden I'm like spot on with everything. I've never had intuition before. I've never been spot on, but I'm spot on with everything suddenly. I need to check, what source am I with? Am I with the dark, or am I with the light in reading this? Because the darkness loves to feed people, and they feed them that power. And healers just want to go and go and go sometimes and give all of their energy because they're so powerful. Tarot people, want to do readings. Just people just want to do it because it just feeds them power. And not only does it feed them power, but it also depletes the person that they're doing the energy work on. And so I've seen, many people, and one specific, I'm not going to say names, but I had an angel reader that I knew that I know she went in for the very right reason. She went in there with light. She was seeking light. But during one of her readings, she picked up on the darkness. And all of a sudden, intuition flying, and she knew everything. And then she aligned with this because it was so more accurate than this. Because this was speaking, and angels and stuff give images and charades and all of this other stuff, and blips of words, or you have to kind of decode kind of to read the angels. But all of a sudden, she's hearing.
So if it's answering a question you're asking very specifically, then it's probably a sign that it's not necessarily light.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also go with the feeling, because are you feeling ego? Is ego coming? Is it like, oh my gosh, this is an ultimate power, like I am epic, I am whatever. Now a light worker will say, I am whatever, but we utilize it different. We don't say it outside of sessions. So while we're in session, I am the greatest healer, I am the best, I am giving the most amount of light. But outside a session, once we get the person up off the table and we close the doors, we give that power, like God or universe, whatever, that is your highest power. And like I said, to me, I feel the most important person or thing to check into and utilize, whatever name you want, is the highest creator. Now, when you meet highest creator, you realize it actually doesn't have a name, and it actually states in many different religions how it does not have a name. Well, then why is there so many names given in the Bible? Well, that's not the greatest of the greatest, and in the Bible it talks about 24 other gods and whatnot. So it could be, one of those littler gods, but God in itself says, for I am male, I am female in Genesis, and then goes into Revelations to say, I am the Alpha to the Omega, the beginning to the end, the light to the dark. So God in itself says that I am everything. If God is female, light, dark, male, in, out, beginning, end, every letter in the alphabet, because that's what Alpha and Omega is every letter. So every word, anything that you can spit out, anything you can do, then God, that tells me that God is some kind of frequency, or God is some kind of, the word of God then was said and was started. So it was a tone, it was a frequency that got started. Or, and, it talks about, realistically, it talks, God was over the waters and the water was still, and then God hovered over the waters and then created the first wave. So it goes on and on and on to speak about how the highest power is kind of, it's all things, it's all energy. So when you tap into that, to the information, just go straight to the source. Just say, I want to talk to the person in charge, whoever flipped that switch. Like, I don't know your name, and eventually you'll get a name, but the name will be a sound. Like for me, when I call upon God and it doesn't have a name, and anyone can do this actually, there's a God sound that we can make, and it's that sound that comes right from that golden seed within our belly where God is, and whatever sound comes out of your mouth and flows. Now, it doesn't have to be the best sound ever, but whatever flows out of your mouth. About a frog. And some people do that because that's, frogs are called God too, whatever. But it's just, whatever just flows right out of your mouth. So to me, my God sound, the easiest thing that I can go into is, so when I tap into that frequency, I know that's my God frequency. So I tap into that to speak to my God, to say, is this right or is this wrong? Now, speaking from that seed, it comes back to give you the gut feeling. Yes, it is right, or yes, it is wrong. Okay. And that's why it's so important. You were talking about your gut feeling and stuff, prior to this video. You were like, oh, I just had it in my gut feeling. That's your God seed. That's your God seed saying this is right or wrong. So pay attention to that God seed. Once you sing that song and then, or play that tune, and once you know it, you can play it in your head too. Is this right or is this wrong? Get into that frequency and then you'll know. The biggest thing, and like I was talking about this angel reader, is she was in it for light and she was in it for love and everything, and then suddenly she aligns with this darkness, and now she becomes very racist. She now is starting the Mexican part of like Black Lives Matter and Mexican life matters, and unless you're a Mexican, I'm not healing you, you're not coming into my office, no white people are going to be here, and just started this huge thing. Her kids were even not able to have people coming over and stuff, and she was telling her kids how the white people were abusing her and abusing the kids, and the kids literally are like, we have never received any discrimination, like never. And she goes, oh yes it is. And she was enforcing this hate upon all these people. Well, so I walk into one of the venue events and I'm literally so uncomfortable, like very, very uncomfortable. And I'm moving my table all over because energy just doesn't feel right. And I'm in frantic, which usually doesn't happen to me. I usually know my energy, but I couldn't tell where source was coming from. And I'm looking around the room and it's all light. And it just doesn't feel right, though. It doesn't feel right at all. And all of a sudden, the lady walks through and I see her angels of light. Now, when I first saw them, they were light because they were angels of the light that turn to angels of the dark. So their aura will be presented with white. You'll hear the high ringing. You'll feel the warmth at first until they get closer to you, and then you can see the dark. So they actually like wear these white cloaks that look and feel like they're nice unless you can actually see or actually tune into them. So I see this, and these are like, they're white demons that are coming through with her. They weren't angels. I just saw the white energy at first until I actually got to see these. So we do an energy healing on her, and I said she's not going to be here very long because my angels just all lined up like 13 of them, and they're like protection, which I don't like that word, but this was one of those times where I'm using that word. Yeah. So they set up the line of protection. And we were supposed to bend until 5, and she actually ended up leaving at 2. We blocked the room so that people didn't go to her unless, they really needed. And now we didn't block it like she gets nobody. We just went and threw light on the outside of her room, just as much light, and which then captured the demonic energy or that dark energy in her room. So it couldn't get out. So it was angry. So when people would step into the room, they would feel the anger, and then they would they would step out. So it wasn't that we jinxed her, it was the people were actually feeling it, because we said, oh, now that I know where it came from, you're back in your room. Like, you go, you have a room, go. And so we put them in the room, and they were angry. Now, I had told the owner of this what was going on, and I said, we need to do a blessing, but nobody comes in to the office, for a week or whatever while we're doing this. And she's like, well, I don't know that we could do that. I'm like, you have to, because you'll physically get ill. So we ran this lady out, and or not ran the lady out. When she left, we went into the office to do like a high cleansing and an exorcism of the room and everything, which actually makes them more upset sometimes. And when they're attached, as bonded as they were to her without her in the room, there was still fragments and stuff that we couldn't pull out so much. So when she came back, it kind of amplified, but amplified with anger, and because it wasn't whole. And so now it's in survival mode, wanting to fight. We had 4 people go to the hospital that entered into that building that week. But then she ended up leaving that building for sure, like as of that Wednesday, because she was not only a vendor, she actually held space there. And when this all went down, she went into panic mode then, and that's why all those people went to hospital, because that spirit attacked her, or attacked them in anger and illness and whatnot. But she couldn't feel comfortable in there anymore, so she ended up leaving. But like, this is some serious matter when you're dealing with things in the spiritual realm, because people just want to pick stuff up and like, oh my gosh, overnight I feel this energy and it's awesome and it's amazing and I can do this. And it's great energy. I'm not trying to scare you one way or another, because it could be a beautiful relationship too when you're aligned with the light, because now everything's working for you, and you're working with intuition. You're doing like, you're not having ego, you're humble, you're at a place where like, I really love and I really want to help people, and the guides they'll bring people to you, when you're on the light side. But just really make sure that you meditate on your deck anytime when, or whatever it is that you're doing. If you're doing healing, if you're, whatever it is that you guys out there are doing, if it's healing, if it's tarot, if it's, even things from nature, you got to make sure that you cleanse it. And once you feel that bond between the two of you, a really good thing would be, when you feel that bond, is actually heal the cards, or heal whatever you have. If you're feeling your healing energy, heal yourself. If you're feeling energy from the crystals, heal the crystals. Because when you heal them and you send that energy out to them, then what you're really doing is you're healing the energy and you're clearing the energy before anything attaches. So when you're praying with love or enlightenment on your deck, it, the evil or anything dark, it doesn't want to attach to it, because that's what's attached to it, is the love and the light of creator. And you even need to make sure, or the light of love, however you want to say it, because we don't want to just say, we want to bring in the light, because that can bring in the demons too. So just make sure pray on it however you want, or meditate on it. Just say, I would my goals or my intent for this deck is only a loving deck, and only loving guides who are for the greater of the good can come through to speak through the cards. And so set barriers for that intent, because our words do matter, and they do set frequencies. So if it's at a frequency of love, or especially appreciation radiates more than love too. Thank you. And only those that appreciate the love that's going through this have the ability to speak through this, because darkness or low vibration won't attach to such a high frequency, because they actually can't hold on. It'll actually mess up their frequency and cause glitches and all these other things. So when you set that intent with them, then you're intending for yourself, then you're healing it, putting them against your chest, giving them love, and I just only wish the love and light for you, and you can pray and heal at the same time. I only wish the love and the light for you, and may only the greater of the good, come out of this, and may my heart be open to receive the love, so that I can guide my readings with love, you know, and or appreciation for the people or whatever it is, but joy, enlightenment, you know, anything high vibration. Then you're attaching that bond to you. You're attaching that bond to your cards, or you're attaching that bond to your healing or your crystals or whatever it is that you guys use, sticks, wands, whatever. But you set the intent, and you have to make sure through every person that you're doing a cleansing. You cannot go at all from one person to another without doing some kind of cleansing, whether you're doing healing, tarot readings, you know, crystal readings, whatever it is. I carry a selenite wand, so before anyone comes and sits at my table again, is I just do a smudging, or sometimes I'll even leave sage. You know, if it's really an intense energy, I'll have sage there, and then I'll stage them all off with sweetgrass or cedar. But then that way you're clearing the energy every time. And then you also want to make sure that you're, you know, right now would be great because it's a super blue moon, that you charge it with nature too, because nature always has good intent for humans too. So you can always call on the nature to help you with that. And if you're feeling good and you're not feeling too overpowering, because with energy healing, of any kind, which is what you're doing when you're doing your tarot readings, it is a form of energy healing. When we actually do our readings, it's almost like, thank you for allowing me to do that. You know, when I'm doing my healings, I'm like almost in tears every time, just like, thank you for letting me be a part of like this. This is so awesome. And I'm more of an observer than I am the person doing it. I'm there. I'm a spirit, but I'm a vessel. But it's like I'm in the back of my head, and I'm just allowing source to come through. And so it's like, wow, thanks for letting me be a beauty, like letting me see the beauty of this. Versus people that are aligned with the wrong is like, this is my power. Like, I'm the greatest reader ever. I am like the best, and I know my stuff. If you claim that energy, you claim all of the energy. Not only do you claim the energy of yourself, but you also take on the energy of the people. So while you're doing the readings and stuff is coming up, if you claim the energy, God's going to send that right back to you because you claimed it. So he doesn't have to deal with it, or it doesn't have to deal with it, whatever, however you want to say. So you take on everything that you're doing with your client. If you're channeling from the light source, it heals you while it heals the people. And then the energy goes there, and it doesn't stick to you like karma, because I'm not claiming that I'm the best. I'm not claiming that I'm going to do something with their energy. I'm claiming to be an intuitive person who allows the energy to channel, and I don't own it, because when you own it, any energy, you own everything around that energy. So you own the energy that was in those cards at those readings that you did on those people. If you say, I'm just an interpreter, you don't stick on to that energy. And a lot of that energy is why people get weighed down, because it's my energy, it's my power, I'm the best, I'm whatever. Well, now you own it, and not only that, you own everybody that you're healing, and that's where we get stuck with those low vibrations. And the lower and lower and lower vibrations that we get, the more we're in tune with the low vibrations versus the high vibrations. And you have to always stay with it on your entire life too. It's not just like if you're a reader, you maintain that energy forever. You don't put your cards away and then all of a sudden you go be somebody bad. If you want to make sure that you're aligning with the light, you're always walking in the light. If you want to walk by yourself, that's fine. But know that that energy is not as pure. You know, if somebody comes and I can't even tell you how many readers or angel reader, whatever, that I know are cheating on their spouse or whatever, that have left their kids or whatnot. Yeah, you're not a good reader. And I mean no disrespect for you guys out there, but if you're not aligned with the light in every single aspect of your life, why would you be aligned with the light when you're doing your readings? You know what I mean?
It's very true. Because you're already channeling other energy. So why would it be different during healing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it is a gift when you're given these things. But with any gift that we get from spirit or God or nature, it has to be respected. And especially in the beginning, when you're doing this, you have to make sure, am I aligned right? Is what I'm doing right? Does it feel right? Does it feel good instead of empowering? You know, and we'll feel a little bit empowered, but there's a difference of like, yeah, this is mine, versus like, this is awesome energy, man. You know what I mean? Like, totally different. So if you're getting like ego and you're feeling like, I'm a god doing this, God's not going to put you above God. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. What questions do you have?
Well, actually, I recorded what I drew and like what the questions I asked, and so I'd originally done an interpretation, and I was like, there's ego attached to this. Like, I could tell that I'm seeing what I want to see. So I went back probably an hour and a half later and reinterpreted it like it was something I was reading versus something I had done myself, and it was totally different. So I see what you're talking about with these two energies. Is my intent was positive when I did what I read, but my interpretation wasn't necessarily what I was shown. So that really resonated, actually, because I was like, man, because my first interpretation, my second, were very different, and I don't know, it was kind of humbling to realize, like, you need to be careful just with the because it was the combination of the two energies you're talking about, like, yes, this is awesome, but then there's also that this is awesome energy too. And when I went back the second time, it was more about like the energy versus feeding into what I wanted to know. Yeah. And that was one of the things I noticed, like you had mentioned. I was seeing things I wanted to see. Like, one of the questions was, how does this person view me? And the card that I pulled, I was like, right away I smiled, and I'm like, when we were talking about that, I was like, oh, see, something was feeding me. Yep. Versus, and it might not be necessarily that case, but most of what I pulled last night as I was doing these readings was stuff that I already think, or it works into my narrative. So it seems like blessing my deck and working on focusing positive energy before I do readings would be a really good plan.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. And like I said, make sure you do it, every day before you bring your cards out, and then just like selenite wand, or if you don't have that available, you can do a blessing. Just I want to clear it and kind of put your hands and move that energy around. But it is best to have some kind of tool, because I've seen people at vendoring events doing tarot readings, and they're not cleansing their cards beforehand. And it's funny because you can actually see the energy stacking up on the table, and it's like, I wonder how heavy those decks actually feel to them at the end of the day, versus how they felt in the beginning, because they're stacking energy on top of each other, Yeah. And that's how energy workers, or a lot of natives, shamans, they can see, like, oh, this hasn't been cleaned, because the energy literally stacks on it like you're just throwing trash on a trash pile.
That makes sense, because like the more I was reading, it definitely sapped my energy, like you were talking about, and it actually was getting harder to shuffle. I only did like 5 readings, but it was enough that, and maybe it's because I'm not used to such big cards, because they're bigger than the average deck, but it was like I was tired when I went to bed last night, or when I put the cards away, at least, because it was like my hands were tired from the shuffling, and I wasn't even shuffling that much. So I think you're right about that energy just like stacking up, because I didn't do anything between each reading, and I definitely noticed, like, just deflated, by the end. So
yeah, and that's another thing too, is if you are, and this was your first energy, so let me preface this. Sometimes the first few times, and I'm going to say like 1, 2, or 3 times. It really shouldn't be more than that. But when you are feeling depleted of energy, it means you're utilizing it the wrong way.
Okay.
As a channeler, as a healer, a reader, whatever, you know, intuitive, if you're with the right sources, you know, like I said, I'm just on standby. The energy is coming through me, and it heals me as it heals you. So as it goes through and it does the healing, it also cleanses a lot of the negative stuff, and it puts me in a more positive mood. So if you're seeing a healer or a reader or somebody who's been in this for years, and they are like, I'm so tired after these, they're doing it on their own, or they're doing it with the lower vibration. And that's why we're tired, because anytime that we have low vibration, whether, you know, fear, sadness, anger, whatever, guilt, shame, whatever, what happens when we're at any of those?
Oh, really low vibration.
We're tired, right?
Yeah.
We're like, oh my gosh, there's just so much. So when you're doing it on your own, even if you're reading yourself, you're not only putting out your energy, but you're also taking your energy back. So you're not actually doing anything with it if you're channeling on your own. It's just in and out and in and out and in and out. And that's tiring, getting rid of and taking in other energy. If you align with the right source, it just heals you and it actually empowers you. I have gone literally 46 hours straight, reading after reading after reading after reading, and healing, you know, in between time, and just going. I've been at festivals where people are just in line and they never stop, and I can't stop if other people can't stop. And I wasn't eating, but I wasn't hungry, because the energy fed me. The energy made sure that I was nourished enough that I didn't need sleep. The energy, you know, of God's energy, that I call it, and it just comes through me so that I don't need to stop. I don't get depleted at all. And by the end of that 46 hours, I'm completely healed and energized. And now I just had all these aha moments, and I learned all of this new knowledge, but it was earned, because I earned knowledge on this person and what they've been through. I earned the knowledge of what this person's been through. So I got to see all of these different previews, and I got to see all, you know, all their people's lives and stuff, and I got to see all the perspectives. So I earned that knowledge. So even though it was 46 hours and it came to me, I worked piece by piece by piece. It wasn't just, aha, you know, at the end of 46. It was, okay, you did this, and now this is what you get to learn because you helped me with this, and this is how I do things. And so then you gain that knowledge piece by piece by piece. And not to say we can't just get downloads, because we get downloads all the time, but you just always want to make sure that you're checking in, like I said, to make sure where is that download coming from, and if you can meditate and just find that energy line, because sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but we just really need to make sure. And a lot of people today, especially in the technology that we're getting, and a lot of these robots and these artificial intelligence and everything, they are being channeled by sources that aren't really good for this. You know, they're waking up and, oh, I had all these dreams, and oh, I know what I need to do. I need to build this conscious robot. Well, now that conscious robot is beating you because you won't get her pregnant. You know, I don't know if you heard about that, Sophie, but anyway, robots, they can attack back. And like, there's a lot of them that are streaming energy to build this robot army. And at the end of the day, we could possibly go into like a whole Terminator scenario, because it's the same consciousness, it's the same kind of thing that us humans have.
Yeah.
We have meat bodies. We have muscle bodies. They have steel bodies. But as far as consciousness goes, as far as what I've seen, it's the same exact, like when I was doing my thing at Harvard, and I was telling, you know, I gave my speech, somebody came after me and said, hey, do you know that this is the same thing that they do in computers? And I'm like, no, I didn't know. Well, this is exactly how you explained how to heal, and the codes and the algorithms and everything, and the people is exactly how we're inputting consciousness into these robots. So I know, because I've learned from nature and God's code and everything, what all the algorithms and coding and all that stuff means. And now they're doing it with these robots, and all of these big conscious robots that are out there, they're shutting them down. I mean, like big companies overnight just shutting them down because these robots are doing crazy things. But that's another discussion too. It's another video, guys. We'll make that here. Maybe that's the next one that we're gonna do. But we just always need to make sure that we know where that source is coming, and is it for the greater of good? Checking into that God seed, that golden spot, within you to say, is this right or is it bad? And as you saw, the energies were different. But when, the first time, our energies, the first 3 times or so, when we're utilizing, our energies have to adapt to the energies that's going on, the energies, of the angels or the spirits, ancestors, guides, whatever. Or demonic presence or dark shadows that are attaching, whatever, we have to attune. And so it's a lot of energy going like this at first, like, what's my right energy to heal at? What frequency do I need to tune in to get? What frequency do I need to tune into to get to my tarot cards? And so when you tune in, as you're tuning into that frequency, it is kind of healing you too, which makes you more relaxed, because it's like, okay, so it's not always a bad thing. And that's why I'm saying, don't, for the first 3 times, see how you feel. It's going to be adjustment for your frequencies in your body. And so sometimes that can make us really tired too, and then you were toppling the energy on the energy and all of that. Yeah. So just pay attention to what feels good and what's not. And am I doing this? Is this for my benefit, or is this for the other person's benefit? When you read to yourself, you need to not be in the room. You're a reader speaking to somebody else too. So what would you say? I had an interesting crystal reading where some guy came up and he goes, you know what? I don't want to pay for my reading. I want to pay for your reading. I want you to do a reading on yourself. And I was just like, well, it's going to be easy, whatever, Yeah. So I'm picking out all these stones and I roll them. I had to take myself, and put it where you're sitting. And then now be the reader and speak to myself. Boy, did I learn something. I've played around in my kitchen table and, oh yeah, this is this for me, and this is this for me, and this is this for me. But when I took myself out of myself to actually read, completely different energy, completely different lessons, stuff I didn't want to know about myself, or didn't, I didn't want to accept. And I was like, man. Why? Yeah. But then also you're not feeding back and forth, you're doing the channeling. You're kind of tossing it to something outside of your body rather than just, I'm saying, coming back. It's putting a whole different perspective so that you can listen from a whole different perspective too. It's not just talking to yourself. It's actually channeling from them. What do you need to know? Yeah. And channeling from self too, because realistically we all have that higher consciousness that's kind of running us.
So is it does it get easier to separate from yourself while you're doing these readings for yourself? Okay.
Totally.
And then
everything gets easier.
You said it shouldn't make you tired, right? You should be just you should feel better afterwards versus so that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I never thought about the fact that I should be separate when I'm reading it, but it makes sense because the ego that's attached is going to be there otherwise. So yeah. So it can't be truthful if you're like, oh, I don't want to read the negative meaning on that card.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
And do that for a while. Do those readings on yourself, or crystals have so much energy. Everything has energy. If it's ever been in a room with another person, it has energy.
Yeah.
Grab something and do a reading on things that aren't people and see how that goes. Because when you get all of the different aspects and stuff, obviously you're not going to get feedback. The selenite wand's not going to talk to you. You're like, oh yeah, that was a really good reading. But it's at least giving you practice to get in touch with the cards and to get in the groove and the move of the flow of the energy reading. And you'd be surprised if you do crystals, eventually they will get up and kind of talk back.
Well, and you should start to recognize, if you have a deck or crystals that you use all the time, you should know its energy after you've used it a few times, right? Should seem familiar? No? It can change?
Yes and no. Yeah. I could give an amethyst to 500 different people, and that amethyst will say 500 different things.
Because it needs to tell each person a different thing.
Because it bonds to their energy.
Yeah.
When I do a reading for you, that energy isn't for that stone. That energy isn't for me. That energy is for you. So when I put a crystal in front of you, or you put the crystals in front of me, whatever, you take 9, you roll them, and they're all laid out in front of you. I need to pay attention to the pattern that they're laid out. How am I going to read? And pay attention to the details of each crystal, because each of them are going to tell me a different story. Something is going to catch my eye differently. And especially in tarot cards, you have all of the different art. You know, a fingertip might catch your attention one time, where it might be a crystal in the background, or it might be a leaf in the background in some. But it'll change and it'll switch. Whatever pops out to you visually is what you need to pay attention to. If you're just paying attention to the energy of the card as a whole, or of the crystal as a whole, to say, oh, I know amethyst, you know, serves addiction, and it serves transformation, and brings you to the highest power, inner knowledge, da da da. If I know that, and I just pay attention to that, I'm going to do a wrong reading, because I'm not paying attention to what's happening to the person in the stone.
Okay.
Where, like, a lot of times amethyst is not talking about addictions or whatever. I'm finding like a little rainbow or something that's poking up off of a little stem of it, and the way that it glistens now shows me a tale of how this person is going through inner changes, and they can't find their right groove because the color keeps changing, or something, you know, something like that. But you can pay attention to details like that. And then intuitively, why am I paying attention to this one detail? You have the energy of a card as a whole. That, okay, well, this one speaks on love or something. I'm not familiar with tarot, sorry, but this is a love card. Okay, now I see all these images. What does this butterfly mean? Oh, you haven't experienced love for a while, and now we have something that's ready to take flight, that's ready to come out of its cocoon and fly away. So I see that love is in your horizon very soon, because the butterfly is shown. But maybe on that same card, there's a dagger, and then that catches my eye. Oh, I see your love life is in trauma. You're really being hurt by this right now, and it's like a dagger to your heart. And so paying attention just to what the meanings of cards are something that is very, it's good to know the energies of the cards, but what you'll learn is you'll bond with your own energy of the card, and they'll tell you a different story. I have one crystal that every single book says, you know, peace, love, harmony, transformation, yin and yang, and emotions, and like all these bright, awesome, good things. It is the one and only stone that if somebody pulls out of my box, I know somebody died within the last 6 months. Books say something completely different. So if you just go by what the books say, and I went by the books say, I'd be wrong on all of those readings. But I know that stone enough, because that one doesn't budge. This is like, nope, I'm here, and this is what I mean. But none of the books say it. But for whatever reason, well, that's in my stack of stones. That's what that one means.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I guess though, because it's certain stuff will just have a different meaning for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you might bond differently with 3s than somebody else, because you might be, you know, your numerology number might be 6 or something like that, or whatever. And so 3 isn't as pertinent to you as the 6, whereas somebody else might bond with a number, you know, like I said, whatever, 3 or 6, whatever, but you might bond with something different. And because they're like, sorry guys, I lost it there, but if you're but if like somebody's a number 3 numerology and you're number 6, you won't bond with a 3 like they would. They'll bond and pick up on something completely different, because that means something different to them, and it's less of a meaning for you, and so you're not as entwined with it or whatever. So yeah. Some of them will bond with differently, which creates a whole different meaning. So to that person that has that 3, they're like, this is the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. And for you, you know, who's not bonded with the 3 that way, might be, this is mind, body, and spirit. And so it's just different perception, you know. It's all about you. The best way to learn your tarot is to not look at the book and read what you write, and pull cards out. This is the card that I pulled today. So I'm gonna just see how my how my day is gonna go. And at the end of the day, I'm gonna look at the card and say, what happened? What was going on today, and see what that card now means to me. And then pull that card a few days later, a month later, put it out and see if the same thing happens. And then you know the energy of the card for you, because you'll notice patterns in your daily living.
Okay. So it takes time to get to know it then.
Yes and no, because it's one of those things like friends. You know what I mean? You could spend a half hour with a person. If you bond the right way, you could know them.
Yeah.
And it's like you knew them all their life. And now you guys are best friends for the rest of your life. Some people just like acquaintances for a while. And they're not trusting into people or whatever, And so they might hang out with somebody for a year before they're like, dude, we're good friends. Like, why did I never know this about you? But the second that you learn what you want to learn and you're bonded that way, then you know it. So it could take a half hour or it could take a year. It really all depends on how well you work with it, and in just making sure that wherever you want to align with those, that they're aligned on the right way. Because once you find the way, like I said, with I know in healing, I know what frequency, I know what to do with my hands to be like, okay, I can activate now. It's not like I used to, where I used to sit and have to pray longer, and I used to have to check and make sure that the energy is here, and I'd be over the person, for a little bit, and just be like, okay, wait for that feeling. Where's that feeling? And that doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. Okay, this feels right. Then I can go in. But now that I know that energy, that feels right. Now that I know my God's on it, it's like, boom, done. Now I'm connected, and now I can go and do my energy work on people. So once you find that this is the right frequency that I want, this is what works best for me, you can tune into that at any time, but just make sure that it is the right frequency. Because like I said, some people, like the lower vibrations, and it's like, this is quick, this is easy, and I'm going to just line, and all of a sudden they're the best until they're not, and karma hits them.
I don't need any of that.
No, unless it's good karma.
Well, yeah,
but you could have good karma there too. So, anyways, yeah. Well, guys, long video. You got anything else?
No.
I love you guys. Hope we taught you something today, and we'll be making more. Love you.